Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our budget workshop. I think the second of our budget workshop for 2025. It's great to see all the staff, all of our visitors. Welcome to our county commissioners as well. So we're going to get started. Commissioners, I appreciate the fact that we've all had our briefing with the county administrator. We appreciate his time, and some of us met not only with him but with some of his staff as well. We've had the opportunity to be well briefed on the information that's before us today. So I don't see any reason, commissioners, why we shouldn't be able to get through the information with any questions, comments, and be out of here in 2 hours or less. So on the agenda item number 1, we have a great summary that was prepared for us by the county administrator and staff. And in as much as I requested information on item number 4, we're on I'm looking at page 28. I'd like to entertain a motion. I recognize some commissioners are out of the office. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Commissioner Matters just walked out, but I'd like to entertain a motion on agenda item number 1 for options 1, 2, 3, and 4, commissioners. Oh, hi, Commissioner Welch. I haven't seen you. You sneaked in.
I'm sneaky.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Maddox is back. Commissioner Welch is here. On agenda item number 1, I'd like to entertain a motion for options 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Madam Chair?
Commissioners are to...
Madam Chair?
And then we'll discuss... Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
County
right.
Administrator.
That's right, Madam Chair. We're prepared to do a presentation on...
Prior to that?
Sure. If that's the pleasure of the board.
Okay, well, we'll hear the presentation and then
Great.
we'll come back.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, commissioners, and welcome to your first workshop on the fiscal year 25 budget. I might as well go off script right at the beginning here. I just saw Brent Pell as I walked in. I don't know if you guys are getting that feedback. Is everyone getting that? Okay. Could you help us out in the back there? Thank you. Okay.
Normally we like your feedback, Mr. County Administrator.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Not in this case.
Okay, and take care of his mic. No. Okay. All right. Is it on? Can you hear me okay? All right. Well, thank you, commissioners. Again, as I said, I'll go off script right off the bat. It was bound to happen anyway. So as I mentioned, when I saw Brent on my way in, it reminded me this is the first time we're together since the April 11th rain event. We're going to have to come up with a name for that rain event because it certainly earned it. But I wanted to just quickly acknowledge, at the risk of preempting commissioners, because I know commissioners were engaged, throughout the county, throughout that event, and certainly got to see firsthand sort of the response efforts there. But again, since it's the first time we're together since that time, I wanted to acknowledge the work of our staff, Brent Pell, Andrew Riley, and the whole team at Public Works in particular, certainly Matt Cavell and Kevin Peters and the whole emergency management and coordination effort that took place. Like all other events, we'll learn from this one. In our after action efforts, certainly we'll have time to celebrate again the efforts of our staff. But again, just at this point in time, just wanted to quickly acknowledge those efforts, and we're still dealing with some of the issues, on localized sort of impacts around the county. But again, just wanted to acknowledge those efforts right off the bat here, but since it is the first time we've gotten together. And so with that, great job to everyone who's in attendance. Commissioners, I'll get us started here. Just a reminder that, and you may notice from the folks who are assembled around the table here, we've got the team here who are here to answer any questions that you might have or engage in any level of discussion that the board might wish to engage in on your budget discussion items that are before you. Just a reminder that you will have another workshop in June, which will reflect any of the direction that we received today. And that direction, of course, will be reconciled with more refined revenue and expenditure data that we have and detail that we have available at that time. But at this time, Commissioners, the board has already provided a lot of direction, which is reflected in the preliminarily balanced FY25 budget, and that we'll go over today. That includes funding priorities in your strategic plan. It includes other fiscal and policy direction that we receive from this board in a very deliberate manner at various stages throughout the budget development process. Like I said, with that being said, I'll get the ball rolling. Rashonda Bradley, our Director of the Office of Management Budget, will follow me with a little additional detail on the budget overview. But with that, Commissioners, in recent years, as the board is well aware, we have budgeted our way through a Great Recession, through natural disasters, through a global pandemic, and most recently through historic high inflation. And there's not a whole lot that we haven't seen and haven't been able to address effectively with as much stability as possible to the taxpayer and, of course, continuity of operations and essential quality of services to our citizens. And this budget is being developed amid its own unique challenges, which we'll talk a little bit more about today, but it too follows the long tradition we have in making prudent and timely decisions in the budget process to best position the board to address these issues as well as any other issues that we can never fully prepare for, but we'll certainly encounter in the future. Commissioners, I want to emphasize that we're still early in the budget development process, but I'd like to take a minute to paint some broad strokes of where we are at this time and provide a little snapshot of the process going forward. As reflected in your materials, and you'll hear more today, the preliminary budget takes a responsible and cautious approach. It anticipates modest property tax revenue growth for FY25 and beyond. Certainly, you'll see that reflected in all your materials. So modest property tax growth. It also accounts for continued high inflation. We anticipate to be in a continued high inflationary environment in FY25 and perhaps beyond that, as we may perhaps lag sort of a recovery there. It allocates our last year of ARPA funding, which is very important. And the ARPA funding, of course, has been critical to our budget balancing strategies over the past few years. You'll hear more about that today. $57 million worth. This is our last year. This FY25 budget contemplates last year of that critical funding. And it also plans for, as I mentioned earlier, continued legislative mandates and cost shifts to local governments. You'll hear more about that, but certainly as this board is very well aware, as we continue to keep you monitored through the legislative process, that we were spared certainly impacts that were proposed during this legislative session and looked quite likely to pass, which would have had crippling impacts. No hyperbole there on this particular FY budget. While we spared those, we fully anticipate those to be reintroduced in next legislative session and beyond. As such, Commissioners, constraining discretionary expenditure growth will be essential to provide the maximum flexibility to the board now and in subsequent budget years. And that means, Commissioners, as you know, that we do our very best to ensure that you have as many options possible, many options available to you to deal with significant fiscal impacts in any budget year when those impacts occur. And given the landscape that we find ourselves in today, while conservative, the preliminary budget is sufficient, Commissioners, to address the most pressing issues of the day, to provide for the provision of quality, essential services to our citizens, and it continues to advance many of the board's long-term goals for the community. Highlights of the preliminarily balanced budget, and big disclaimer there, preliminarily balanced budget, Commissioners, are before you on the screen. At this point in the process, those include no changes in the millage rate for the 13th consecutive year, no new tax or fee increases of any kind reflected in the FY25 budget, no new general revenue supported positions. So again, you sense a very clear theme there in terms of how lean of an approach we're taking. Importantly, support for the sheriff's budget and this pay plan that the board initiated a couple of years ago. This is the last year of the current of the pay plan and the first year of the sheriff's minimum $60,000 starting pay for sheriff's deputies as proposed in this budget and preliminarily balanced, again reflecting the strategic priorities of the board. It reflects continued funding for human services agencies, including the establishment of line item funding for the emergency homeless shelters, another high priority of the board and one that'll be coming back with more detail at your June workshop. Funding to support the county's annual performance increases of 0 to 5% with an average of 3%, and other, of course, essential and strategic investments to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the community and the efficiency and performance of the organization. On the issue of employee raises, Commissioners, at the request of the board, we did provide an analysis of the cost of the 5% across the board pay increase, which the board approved over the last 2 budget cycles. As such, option 4 is included in this item should the board deem it warranted to continue that for this upcoming year. The overview item, Commissioners, also provides an analysis of the county's debt service schedule and other issues requested by the board, which we're happy to go into as much detail as the board desires. Commissioners, that is a very high-level overview at this point in the process. But Commissioners, of course, there's a lot of important details that we'll be addressing throughout. And again, I want to emphasize that we're early on in the budget process. Because of that, we won't be spending a lot of time today focusing on the detailed budget. The purpose of this workshop is to continue to seek your preliminary guidance throughout the process. Then at the June workshop, Commissioners, we will present a detailed budget. Present detailed budget balancing strategies should that be necessary. And by June, of course, Commissioners, we will have estimated values from the property appraiser. We'll have all the constitutional budget office or constitutional officers' budgets will have been submitted by that time, and OMB will have completed its analysis and overview of all the departmental budgets and capital project requests. Again, all that information will be available at June or at your June workshop. Finally, Commissioners, I wanted to remind the board that today's workshop is scheduled from 9 to 3, but as the chairman noted, I'm sure you're not going to need anywhere close to that time as we only have a few discussion items for the board to consider. However, we do have obviously as much time as the board desires. As I said, any additional policy guidance that you provide to us today will be reflected at your June 18th workshop. Commissioners, as I wrap up my comments here, due in no small part to a long history of very thorough fiscal planning, we've been able to meet, as I mentioned, the challenges that come our way, whatever they are, while striving to set the standard in public service and perennially being one of the most efficient, affordable, and responsive local governments in Florida. That never changes, Commissioners. The county's strong fiscal foundation has been established over many previous budget cycles using budget discipline, again, sound fiscal planning, and of course, the emphasis that we place on organizational-wide focus on innovation, cost savings, and efficiency. Of course, that level of effort is continuous. And with that, Commissioners, I want to take a moment to thank all of our county staff who participate in this process, again, on a year-round basis, including Rashonda Bradley, who you'll hear from in just a moment, our director of OMB and her team for their dedication and continuously excellent work. Commissioners, finally, I want to thank the board for all of your policy guidance and direction and consistent leadership leading up to today and including today as we seek your budget guidance or your guidance in the development of the preliminary budget. I'm now going to hand it off to Rashonda, who's going to provide a little additional information in terms of the overview. Following that, as I mentioned, Commissioners, we have a few budget discussion items, and which will the board will that will be seeking your direction to include for your consideration today. And with that, Rashonda, I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, excuse me, Mr. County Administrator. We have a question directed to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Administrator, thank you so much. No doubt we all have had a preliminary briefing. My interest today is the scaffolding to carry us for 24-25 is well placed, and I'm not uneasy. But to the extent that you could foreshadow next year's legislative mandates that may constrain some of our streams of revenue, I'm okay with this year, frankly. But as much as you all can, look into the future for us, I really think that we need to think as if we're in 25 and not in 24. So as much of that long view would be appreciated. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you, Vince. I'm just going to first go over some of our the current economic outlook as we're developing the budget. On a national level, Commissioners, as Vince said, this is the final year of ARPA funds. We've used our $57 million over the past few fiscal years as a revenue replacement and to support the capital program. Commissioners, without those funds, we would have been forced to cut expenditures and capital projects. Like Vince said, this is the final year. Going forward, we will be forced to continue constraining our expenditures to just normal growth in property values and general revenue. Commissioners, this year we utilized $1.9 million of ARPA funds. Final year, just want to reiterate that as we're going forward. Moving on to inflation, Commissioners, we are down from the peak that we experienced immediately after COVID. If you recall, when we were preparing the 22 budget, inflation was over 9%. We're still above normal levels right now at about 3.5%. As we were preparing the agenda materials, inflation in Florida was one of the highest at nearly 4%. As Vince said, currently in the budget, we're still feeling the impacts of inflation in the price of products and services, and most notably, Commissioners, in our construction bids, our capital program. To address inflation during the pandemic, the Federal Reserve, the federal government increased interest rates around 11 times. Of course, as interest rates go up, borrowing costs go up, and basically spending goes down. And that ultimately results in less tax collections for us, Commissioners. The Fed in their most recent meetings have indicated that they are considering lowering rates at some point this fiscal year, by the end of the calendar year. That approach has slowed down in recent months as inflation is continuing to uptick. Even from February to March, there was still a slight increase, so we're not seeing any indications that inflation is going down as fast as the Federal Reserve would want. On a local level, Commissioners, we're still experiencing an extremely competitive job market. Local unemployment here in Leon County is averaging around 3%. As you know, Commissioners, To remain competitive, over the past few years, you've implemented a compensation study, which made our salaries more up to date with the market, as Candace Shock spearheaded that. You've approved 5% pay increases across the board the past couple of years, and you're also today will be considering some enhancements to our employee benefits through the parental leave policy. Locally, as Vince spoke about, property tax revenues and general revenues are modestly increasing right now. Before COVID, our property values were averaging around 6% increase. This year, we're projecting about 6.5%. That's pretty low compared to some of the other local governments around the state that are experiencing double-digit increases. So we are moderating to what we consider normal growth for us. With that broad overview of the economy, commissioners, we're going to look at some of the legislative impacts that Vince spoke about. As you know, we did this year dodge some of the most drastic impacts, $23 million. We highly anticipate in coming years that these issues will be back. So Commissioner Proctor, as you said, we are operating with that in mind. The budget will be conservative just because we know that these issues will be back. The first one, commissioners, the FRS COLA. Of course, this was a proposal to re-implement some of the COLA for retirees. This would have had a $9.6 million impact to our FY25 budget. Luckily, that didn't pass this year, and we're experiencing normal growth, which is about $2.5 million between us and the constitutionals. The additional 25,000 homestead exemption would have taken about $1 billion off of our property tax values. That would have resulted in over $11 million. That impact would have hit us in FY26. The water and sewer surcharge, that proposal, of course, would limit utility providers from charging more than a 25% surcharge for customers. Of course, as you recall, commissioners, our interlocal agreement with the city of Tallahassee allows the city to impose a 50% surcharge on county residents in exchange for the use of city recreational amenities. We did receive notice from the city. If that would have passed, they were going to want to renegotiate that agreement, which could have impacted us by about $2.6 million. Luckily, we dodged those bullets this year. But what did pass, commissioners, is a homestead adjustment, an annual inflationary adjustment to the homestead that will be on the November ballot. Based off of our conversations with the property appraiser's office and considering our current CPI, that could result in over $350,000 impact on the 26 budget. Of course, if that passes, we'll be anticipating that. And the difference with this adjustment, commissioners, and the homestead exemption, the additional homestead exemption would have resulted in a one-time hit to our revenues. This adjustment will grow annually. It will adjust the exempt value annually, which will result in us not being able to fully realize our year-over-year property tax growth. Again, commissioners, we are operating in an environment where we anticipate additional cost shifts to local government, and that's our direction to departments as we're developing the budget. We're just trying to make sure that we're positioning you in the greatest posture to handle those issues going forward.
Question, Madam Chair.
Please.
I say our legislative team is here. Are y'all saying that we're going to be in a rope-a-dope posture and just get attacked by the Florida legislature? Or what is our fight back plan against the these unfunded mandates, the FRS COLA, the homestead? What is Florida Association of Counties, what are counties doing to galvanize our strength not to take these blows? These kind of possibilities for our county is going to be tough, but for smaller counties would be tougher. I don't want to sit in the posture of commissioners of just taking the rope-a-dope and getting hit. We need to fight back. And Vince, what is that
Sure.
approach?
Sure. Well, and obviously, and we'll talk about this a lot more in your upcoming legislative workshop that we have scheduled for you. But yeah, I do want to give a lot of credit to FAC and their team. They've been very effective. Commissioners, we don't talk about legislation that's just been filed. We talk about legislation that has a very high chance of passing, and certainly everything that we're talking about today did. So again, I give a lot of credit to FAC and importantly our legislative team that we have. We have kind of taken every approach possible, from galvanizing, all of our the counties from Escambia County to Monroe County on these efforts throughout the legislative session. Again, these similar bills have been filed for the last couple of years, but these are not bills that don't see the light of day. These are bills now that go through the entire committee process, get referred to committees, are heading to the floor, and several of these were advanced and considered in the budget reconciliation project, the budget conference this time around. So this is real stuff. Again, our legislative efforts have just been redoubled. And again, I give a lot of credit to everyone who's kind of in the trenches doing those. We've talked to legislators who have filed these bills and who are not at all shy about telling you they fully intend to refile them in, next year. And so again, we have every expectation that we'll see bills like this in the future, and they don't only fall into the category of the cost shift side. They, at the same time, other bills are filed to constrain the local government's ability to offset these impacts by raising revenues. And so, again, it's sort of a two-pronged approach. We fight these on sort of every front, and that, in essence, is kind of what we'll talk more about again in our upcoming budget work, or legislative workshop, rather.
Let me ask, the 6.5% that Rashonda has mentioned, the guesstimated revenue of increased property values, does that set us at even Steven, status quo, or will we have 2 or 3 pennies left over from the 6.5? I mean, how does that translate to balances for this county?
Well, Commissioners, that 6.5 is a preliminary estimate. We'll receive the estimates from the Property Appraiser's Office on June 1st. However, we'll get into this a little more in the presentation, but our anticipated property tax increases don't fully cover all of our expenditure increases for the year. There's inflationary increases, related to contracts and materials. So at this point, we don't anticipate any extra.
That's the stuff that we need to hear. I need to know if 6.5 is going to cover us, or will we fall short? With the drying up of the federal money, residue of COVID money going away, and with those 2 first bullets up there, we're looking potentially at a steep hole. We're looking at a hole for 24, 25 if the 6.5 does not cover. And we don't want to get caught blindsided. So let us know what these numbers translate to, or if these numbers can float the boat, or is we going down? We need to know.
Right. Well, right now, Commissioners, the 6.5 is anticipated to cover our general revenue supported positions.
Very good. Thank you, Brother. Thank you.
And expenditures. Right. Now, Commissioners, we're just going to shift quickly to some of our deliberate efforts from county employees to cut costs, which we love cost savings, especially in the budget office. Prior to us coming to you, Commissioners, with any recommendations for taxes or fee increases or new positions, our employees are being creative, thinking outside of the box, and realizing some cost savings and avoidances within our budget. These are related to some of your targeted programs, our leaves listening sessions, the I-Squared program. And this year, Commissioners, we've identified nearly $12 million in savings. That's about $76,000 over the past 10 years. Million, sorry, Vince, yes. Commissioners, in your agenda materials, we've included some of these specific examples for this year. I won't go into much detail, but like I said, this isn't isolated to the budget process. These are ongoing year-round efforts where we are being creative and employees are empowered to be creative to bring these cost-saving measures to the table. Moving on now, Commissioners, to some of the detail of the budget. Just to reiterate, we're still early in the budget process. Our office, we're still refining our revenue estimates, reviewing expenditure budgets, and meeting with departments on capital requests. But just high level, Commissioners, as we said, property taxes are estimated to increase by about 6.5%. This is down from last year's growth of 7.87%. The year before that, we were at 9.3%. So you can see that we are starting to shift to more normal rates. Other major general revenues, such as your half-cent sales tax and state share revenues, are anticipated to increase, while other general revenues, such as your gas taxes, we're expecting to realize some decreases there. On the expenditure side, Commissioners, we're anticipating expenditures to increase about $15 million. I will say, just to reiterate, in this current economic and legislative outlook that we're facing, the increases that you see here have been constrained to the smallest levels necessary. If you ask some of my friends in chambers and maybe around the table, they've heard no. We're just making sure that we're able to, maximize the limited dollars that we do have and just constrain those increases. The majority of the increases, Commissioners, on the operating side are tied to essential and mandatory services. The sheriff's budget, of course, is estimated to increase around 9.5%. The majority of these expenditures, Commissioners, like Vince said, are tied to the final implementation of the sheriff's pay plan and bringing officers' salaries to that $60,000 minimum. The budget still continues to provide support for your other constitutional officers. Of note, Commissioners, the Supervisor of Elections budget, as you know, fluctuates year after year based on the election cycle. The 24 budget, of course, included the presidential preference primary. Next year would be a general election, so we typically see their budget go down in those general election and off-election cycles. So we'll realize those savings in the FY25 budget.
Question, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you. It's really on our legislative revenue side. I'm sorry to go back, but you were rolling on the details, and I wasn't going to miss those. We also have, as I understand it, a statewide ballot initiative that is limited, that would add an inflation adjustment to the Save Our Homes homestead exemption. Since that's statewide, is FAC or any other statewide organization going to be, surely there will be public campaigns to allow that to pass. Is FAC planning a campaign or a policy decision on opposing that or not?
Commissioners, that information will be included for you when we have our budget workshop. I don't know that the executive board of FAC has met yet and made a decision relative to their position on that.
Excellent. And then on the detailed of expenses, as you noted, by far almost all or the most of our property tax increase is offset by almost a similar amount for the sheriff and operations. And I noted in the materials, and I know that our staff and the sheriff's staff are working as much as they can to keep that down. Is our increase in that, as I've said before, and then in prior year, and Commissioner Proctor has said better after me every time, we're like a dog just being led by a leash on those expenses and such a big portion. And I'm sure the answer to this, but I want to be sure, I want to confirm, we have to provide for that law enforcement, and we're happy to. Are our increases similar with other sheriff's offices in the state, or are we the leader on containing costs and providing the needs, or how do we compare? Is it typical or atypical?
Well, I'll start, and Rashana, you can jump in. First of all, yes, and I totally appreciate question, Commissioner O'Keefe, and it's a good one. It's obviously a very important one given the impact of the sheriff's budget on our own overall budget. I do have to say we're very fortunate to have the budget relationship that we have with our sheriff's office. I know the board appreciates that. The sheriff's office engages completely in throughout our budget process, and we know anecdotally, and we can certainly get more comparative information for you if that's something the board would like to see. But I talk to county administrators regularly throughout the year, and specifically when it comes to constitutional budget officers' requests and that sort of thing. And this is not out of line at all, proportionate to our budget, to see, again, this sort of breakdown. Again, we're very fortunate. We have an extremely hands-on working relationship with him throughout the budget process to prioritize these requests that come before you. And as we mentioned this year, that priority was mainly on the last year of the implementation of the pay plan, as well as the new minimum starting salaries. Again, that's something that we do throughout the year in terms of engaging with their office, and certainly will continue to do so. But Rashana, did you have anything to add on that?
No, I was just reiterating.
Okay.
Yeah, we work constantly with them to actually keep their budget down as much as possible as well. So we just continue that relationship.
Generally, what you find, and I just add one
Yeah.
more thing. I was trying to think of the piece I was trying to say there at the end, but generally what we find, and I shared this with some of the commissioners during our budget briefings, is that we try to constrain the sheriff's budget to the percentage of our value increases year to year. Generally speaking, we come in right about in line with if we anticipate a 6.5% value increase year to year, we try to make that consistent with the increase in the budget. That is not the case this year. Again, and it has been in the past couple of years, but this year we're a little high on that. But I have every expectation that we'll continue to get that back in line, particularly a big year because of those operating impacts related to salaries.
Absolutely. Makes sense. I don't need any more detail. That's what I need to hear. And I know that we're very lucky to have the sheriff we have. And I know that their office does everything they can with our office to keep those costs as low as needed.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Keefe. Let me follow up, Mr. County Administrator. It's also important that we are competitive with other local law enforcement. Is that correct? And doing the budget, can you just address that a little, what you all did to look at our fellow law enforcement here in Leon County, Tallahassee?
Sure, yeah, and not only in law enforcement, you'll see in several of the items that the board requested that in the form of budget discussion items that you'll see analysis, whether we're talking about our metro region or whether we go beyond that relative to salaries or other benefits and that sort of thing. you'll see that reflected in the analysis on these items. But certainly it's something that we do on a year-round basis. Candace's shop engages in market analysis year-round. We lean in more in areas where we know we're having particular issues attracting candidates for certain positions. But certainly the sheriff's office falls into that category locally of trying to keep pace with the other law enforcement offices in town, and that's a constant struggle.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator.
Madam Chair, could I ask-
Commissioner, I see Commissioner Maddox. Did you have? Okay, you take it off. Commissioner Proctor. What now? Oh, okay. Awesome. Commissioner Proctor.
Madam Chair, a little more specific to the question you raised. Where does the sheriff's numbers place him contrasted to TPD? And that typically is the gold standard, which they've been trying to match for years.
Commissioners, I think TPD is averaging around 65,000 minimum.
Okay, so the sheriff is still below a sister agency, and for many years, the effort to close the gap and to receive competent applicants to serve in that role is important. I think that that's a reasonable number. I think that that firefighters should likewise be in that same number. Our EMS, I don't know where our EMS falls in this picture, but overall, first responders, folk who can die for having gone to work, their lives should have a value for which they're remunerated for the risk which they take. The other category, the other expenses, what does other mean?
Commissioners, those include, and you can also go to Table 1, page 11 of the item for a complete breakdown. But those are some of our other mandatory increases, such as Medicaid. That includes some of our fuel increases, things of that nature.
You're talking about, I can't see that page. Okay. Also, my last question here is on our revenue side, kind of explain to us the $11.4 million that we leverage for fire services fee. It's not registered on our books as revenue. Exactly how is that spooked out, and how do you account for that money that we tax, but we don't see it on the book?
So we have a separate fund for the fire services fees. So we record the amount on the county side that we collect through our property tax bills, and we remit that to the city. We also, as an accounting exercise, we do just record what we anticipate for the city to collect in the unincorporated area. But all of that revenue, of course, goes to the city of Tallahassee.
I just feel that there should be some demarcation, even if it had a star footnote that we do collect that money, and some kind of footnote that says we never touch that money. But I think on the books it ought to be reflected that the county took this money up.
Yeah, and it is, Commissioners, in your annual budget budget document, we do indicate how much is received.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Lastly, Commissioners, before we transition, on the Leon County government personnel, of course, our costs for county employees are anticipated to increase by about $1.3 million, and that includes, of course, our health care mandatory requirement and the 0 to 5% pay increases that the county administrator spoke about. Quickly, Commissioners, while the budget is still conservative, we do The budget does include funding for some of your strategic initiatives. As the county administrator spoke about earlier, the emergency homeless shelters, we're recommending increasing reimbursement rates for dental and mental health visits, and also your partnerships with 211 Big Bend to enhance access to human services. Moving on, commissioners, based on your direction at your retreat, the workshop item also includes an analysis of your current debt obligations. As a best practice, we typically only issue debt for large capital improvement projects. Just to reiterate, our debt service levels are pretty low compared to other organizations. We don't have a lot of debt, and we anticipate being debt-free by about FY 2037. Commissioners, in your agenda items, there are a couple summary tables that break down each debt service that we have, the purpose of the debt, final maturity date, and remaining payments.
What page is that?
Page 20. As reflected on the screen, commissioners, we are anticipating a reduction in our debt beginning in FY 26. In previous years, commissioners, we have utilized these debt service savings to offset tax and fee increases. Most recently, you'll recall with your EMS and fire, we utilized additional general revenues to support those programs to delay those increases. As reflected on the screen, commissioners, the chart reflects the amount of revenue that we're anticipating picking up each fiscal year. Of course, we'll bring back to you during your annual budget process the recommendations for those savings. As we discussed and we've talked about previously, the ARPA funding is going away in FY26. We would anticipate using these savings to offset some of those costs. But of course, like I said, commissioners, will bring that back to you during the annual budget process. At your February meeting, commissioners.
Question, Madam Chair? Sorry, this time I won't go and let you get all the way through. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. Just on debt service, I'll note, because of conservatism in the budget, this county has an incredible debt to fund ratio. And I just wanted to know, at least in general terms, where are we at in our bonding capacity should future projects be needed?
Our last communication with bonding agencies, commissioners, we were A+, I believe, yeah.
Excellent.
But in terms of capacity, yes, ample capacity to going in aligned with your observation that we have very low debt. We do have ample capacity. We've benefited from, obviously, in this board's direction, refinancing when markets were right. Probably could have paid off all of our debt within the last couple of years. The board made some strategic decisions when the market was good to refinance some debt and do that sort of thing. Again, it's not to say that all debt is bad, but certainly we maintain a very low level of debt as a proportion to the budget. And again, just to underscore what Rashonda said, these savings, as you see them coming online in future fiscal years, we believe will be critically important to the board as you enter into your budget deliberations, and certainly the board will ultimately be able to direct those savings at that time.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Rashonda.
But Mr. County Administrator, let me ask you that. Is that the highest rating that we can have, or as the debt ratio goes down, could it go up? That A+ is pretty high, isn't it?
That is consistent. We have, over the last several years, this is my 29th budget, we have consistently gotten better and better in terms of our bond ratings. We currently have some of the highest bond ratings available to municipal governments.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
do we have a policy on when this debt goes off the book? Is it our policy that the savings go to the rainy day fund, or do we have a policy that it goes to the reduction of the millage? What policy do we have when this debt comes off the books?
We don't have a policy. In fact, Commissioners, we maintain the board's ultimate flexibility on how to utilize those funds. So what we do is we bring those back as when you see that we'd be paying off that debt, it'd be coming back on the books. We would introduce that early in the budget process and use that in your budget balancing strategies.
Commissioners, I would suggest that in your future, you young commissioners, in your futures, might you consider debt reduction as the first possibility to reduce to the millage, and to what extent can it be plowed into our construction of a budget that allows for a reduction of a millage? That's paramount right now for a community suffering many fiscal challenges. And we don't have a policy that immediately tells staff what to do when we no longer have these years of, but we've got in the next 5 years, that's a good looking amount of money that if we focus, but let's not focus on the millage reduction. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. And I guess, Mr. County Administrator, is that as that's presented to us as we reduce the debt, depending on the composition of the board, I believe that that's a decision that could be made at that particular time, depending on the amount and depending on, I guess, the needs in the community, at the time.
I would strongly advise that you keep all your options open.
Open, okay. Thank you.
Commissioners, as you recall, at your February meeting, you received an update on your sewer projects in the unincorporated area. The county, we've been extremely successful and effective in leveraging state and federal dollars for these programs. Even with the over $63 million in grant funds, Commissioners, there's still a significant shortage to complete some of the remaining projects due to increases in construction costs. As such, our office, along with Public Works, we've been aggressively seeking additional grant dollars. You did give us authorization at your February meeting to apply for a $10 million state grant. That grant, of course, requires a $10 million local match. Commissioners, you have...
You said that so casually.
Yeah.
$10 million.
Just $10 million. You have dedicated our portion of Blueprint water quality funds for match dollars for these projects. To date, we've used about $8 million of those dollars for match, and we anticipate continuing that practice based off of board direction. So what we're seeking today, Commissioners, upon notification of the grant award, because we're going to get it, we're asking that we're able to engage our financial advisor for a short-term loan. We will leverage our water quality funds, and these debt service payments, they won't have an impact on general revenue because we have this dedicated revenue source. So you'll see this option reflected in your recommendations to approve.
Madam Chair, may I comment on that, please?
Yes, please.
Can you go back 2 slides? No. Come down. The one about the sewer. Anyway, I want to compliment our staff for doing a significant work in the piping of sewer down to the Woodville area. Commissioner Caban and I appreciate and recognize. I got a call on this past Saturday, from out of the blue, and Reverend William Fouts called to say that his church down on the Old Woodville Highway, which is on our library road in the Jordan playground, said that he has sewer, and you would have thought it was Christmas morning. Sewer pipes for the church that goes all the way down the Oak Ridge Road. That is a significant elevation of the potential of that community to step into the 21st century. And I just want to give a shout out to staff. And under Vince Long's administration, from a dormant focus on Woodville, Madam Chair, Vince Long and his staff have championed support in securing it from the state to bring the optimal, well, it's not the ultimate, but it is an optimal infrastructure that signals people who live in the 21st century. And you probably need cable and, optics and all like that to be in the ultimate zones of civilization, to have internet, I guess now. But to have sewer is fundamental and basic to modern living. And I am very grateful, very, very grateful for staff's push. And I do believe that, though maybe not in my tenure, though I'm disappointed in that one day we will have the pipes in the ground that when we get that dirt from the federal government called U.S. Forest, we'll be ready to do something with it. We will have our infrastructure in place. But we're going to get that dirt. The people of this county deserve it. And we're federal taxpayers. And that money that we pay to the federal government, that we done bought them woods over and over and over again. And on April 15th, we paid another billions of dollars to the federal government for dirt that they have that we need for affordable housing and other needs of the community. So the future, mark my words, are going to be brighter for what we have done. And we don't see these pipes. They're not visible, but they are the catalytic force that makes for the activity on top of that ground to be more valuable and enriching. So thank y'all. I'm deeply, I'm not sentimental over sewer, but I am passionate about pipes that can make activity on top of the ground be more enriching. So for that, thank you, and I'm 100% you all, as you know, behind the continued march to put the pipes where they need to be in Woodville.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor, for those comments and accolades to staff, and I think we all certainly share those sentiments.
Yep.
Ms. Bradley?
Lastly, Commissioners, as I wrap up, just next budget steps. We have a few things to get through before we officially adopt the budget at your September public hearings. Of course, by May 1st, we'll have the constitutional's budgets. We'll ratify the actions you take today at your May 14th meeting. On June 1st, we'll receive preliminary values from the property appraiser's office. We'll use that to present your tentative balanced budget at the June budget workshop. On July 1st, we'll receive final values from the property appraiser's office. Commissioners, your budget calendar has a workshop, if necessary, on July 9th. And then, of course, we'll have our 2 required public hearings at your September meetings. With that, Commissioners, the recommendations are here on your screen. Just a reminder, Commissioners, at your March meeting, you did approve a sponsorship for the Shoes for Schools event. That direction, Commissioners, only applied to the FY25 budget, so we have identified funding within the FY24 budget to support this year's event. With that, Commissioners, I'll turn it back over to Vince.
Madam Chair, we'll turn it back over to you to facilitate a vote on item 1. And just note, Madam Chair, that just like a commission meeting, I'll be prepared to introduce the budget discussion items that follow. But we'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator and Ms. Bradley. Thank you all for a well-presented information on our summary and items before us, for all your hard work. Commissioners, we have the options, and I'd like to entertain a motion for options 1, 2, 3, and 4. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to move staff recommendation before I say a few things, if that's okay. So I would move staff recommendation options 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, those are staff recommendations.
Is there a second? Commissioner Minor. Comments,
Thank you.
Commissioner Welch?
You know, I just want to commend all of you. I don't know, obviously my perspective is limited on budget construction, but I think you guys clearly do an incredible job as a staff from the top all the way through the departments in being very thoughtful, agile, flexible. These are budgets in very dynamic environments with inflation and with revenues changing. So as a layman who looks at something like this, I just want to commend you, let you know that I understand what you're doing. I see what you're doing. I see the intentionality behind the decision-making that's done. I think that for my colleagues on the board, you know, obviously we are in a dynamic environment across the street. I think that you could very well anticipate that some of these things are going to come down in the coming years that will require us to really pivot our budget. So once again, this is maybe the 4th budget cycle I've gone through in Leon County. And like the others, it is a great work product. I think that it really reflects our values and what we're trying to achieve here, and it's responsible more than anything. And so I just want to thank you all for that. And obviously, I'll support the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question. Mr. Administrator, we received a request for funding from the Housing Authority in the amount of $175,000 to match the City of Tallahassee's pending approval of $175,000 for a total of $350,000. That would be the master planning money used for Springfield. As you all know, this has been a priority for me for a long time. We were able to get Orange Avenue done. I prefer Springfield first, but Orange Avenue got done. But now that Springfield is a possibility and we're starting that master planning, I would like to include that in our budget. Mr. Administrator, am I in right order to go ahead and ask for it to be a part of this motion or to discuss it later?
Sure. Madam Chair, obviously that would be up to you. I would just say that perhaps if you did want to save it till after this, because I think the impact would be in the current budget. So I think it'd be in the 24 budget.
I was wondering.
And yeah, but certainly we'd be here to receive whatever direction the board might have at that time.
Madam Chair, Mr. Administrator, with that money, so we do have enough, what do we have in contingency right now to contemplate?
We probably, what we would do is we would, if it's the desire of the board, we would bring back an agenda item to you and we would lay the options out to you, but probably we wouldn't be recommending going to contingency for that.
Okay.
Again, we may be in a position to utilize or to at least provide an option to the board to utilize ERA funding that was previously dedicated to pursue grant funding. But again, we can provide all of that and more in the analysis when it comes back to you.
Okay.
Commissioner Maddox, let me say this. Why don't we address that separately with the motion and request an agenda item to come back from the county administrator and the staff. I also have that letter as well, and I had planned to raise it and just see if we could vote on the county administrator and his staff looking at it, doing analysis, and bringing it back at our next meeting.
Madam Chair, I'll let you handle that. One, thank staff for the hard work they put in on the budget. Commissioner Welch, thank you for your motion. Of course, the other part that we did not discuss yet, I'll be willing to listen to board discussion on is option 4, which is the contemplation of a 5% across the board increase. One thing about those increases, of course, we all know that it increases our budget perpetually. I don't ever see a situation where we look at one and go back on something like that. So I know we have to see with 0 to 5 and there with an average of 3. And I appreciate the administrator for bringing that forward. But I would be willing to entertain both. But I think we should be, as Commissioner Parker brought up in the front end of this discussion, we should be very thoughtful about that, understanding that if we do have that 23 million, which looks like about 20 million hit, it comes as a result of next year's legislative season, we'll have to consider that with any decisions that we make today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So was that a substitute motion to include option 4, or are you just addressing it?
I would ask the maker the motion to consider the amendment of adding option 4.
Okay, wait, is that or you didn't do it? You
I'm asking
just
for an amendment.
consider, okay, Commissioner Welch. Thank you, Commissioner Minor.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. I appreciate the sentiment. As we all know, we've done 5% across the board for the last 2 years. I think that, as we have discussed in the past, you know, the 0 to 5% with a 3% average, I would support the staff's recommendation to stick with that at this point. I think we've done, as you said, there's perpetual costs associated with that. We have unpredictable future coming from across the street and unfunded mandates. And I think besides that, it gives our department heads and our staff and our administration flexibility to give some people 5%, some people less, based on performance, based on quality that they provide. So I think that, in my opinion, I would rather we not do the 5% across the board and stick with the flexible 0 to 5% with the 3% average. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. County Administrator, doing the full 5% would add another $1.3 million to the budget. Is that correct, Candace? Yeah. I think that in this environment, where we're looking at potential hits from across the street, again, considering that our millage rate, our percentage increase is being consumed almost entirely by the sheriff's budget, which is raising salaries for our deputies. I think that staff's recommendation is the measured way to go at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As others have noted, I want to thank our staff for working incredibly hard on this budget. We've had a tough year, and I really appreciate all the work that you all are doing to bring this in for a landing, and looking forward to the workshop in June. I know we're going to have the capital plan recommendations coming to us at the June workshop. But when we have that workshop coming and we talk more about the capital plan items, would you all be so kind as to give us a little more detail on what the pressures are for the construction costs? We hear a lot from the community and from our staff about the tremendous increase in the cost of concrete, asphalt, et cetera. And we hear that from around the community too. I'm not looking for a 50-page analysis, but basically a pretty decent workable narrative on what's facing Leon County government's capital projects, because that will help us explain to the public at large why we're seeing the increases in some of our budgets for that. So I'd really appreciate that. I think it'd help all of us, and I think it'd be helpful for the public to see the pressures that we're facing. And then lastly, I wanted to talk again about option number 4. If you all remember last year, the end of the year before, I think I told the story about how in a former life I used to work on enterprise computer systems. We do design, programming, system testing, and this is like more than 20 years ago. But I would manage programming teams of 50 to 60 people, and these were bright people, ambitious, dedicated, focused on doing the job. But the best tool that I had for making sure that the best, hardest working, smartest employees stayed was because of a merit-based increase. Most of us respond to an increase in salary. And so when we evaluated, their work over the course of a year or the course of a project, I had many tools at my disposal, but the best tool I had was being able to reward excellent work with a merit increase that merited that work. And so I've always kind of had that sense that, we've got a lot of great people in our county. And there are people that really burn the midnight oil, that really go the extra mile to make sure that they're serving the people that live in this county well. Those people should be rewarded. We should be able to show them that we value that extra effort. And I think that really matters. And so I think this is an important step to go back to that management practice, because I bet if we were to talk to the managers throughout the county staff, throughout the county structure, they would say that this is a really important tool for them. That's one. Number two is that, as Commissioner Welch alluded to, we have some incredible unpredictability coming in the next few budget years. Next year, we might have something akin to a $23 million hit that we've got to figure out how to respond to. There's a storm coming, but when that storm comes, it's not going to leave. It's in perpetuity. The recurring pressure, the pressures that we're going to have on our budgets will be in perpetuity. So we need to be very careful, very cautious about increasing our expenses. And because I think we all know the chances of us coming back here a year from now, after the legislature passes perhaps some of these policy things that we're pushing for this session, we're going to be in a situation where we're trying to look for every single penny to make our budget balance. And so I think this is smart for us to go with staff recommendations, options 1, 2, and 3. Let's see how bad the storm is next year and figure out what we need to do to be responsible for the budget. But I do think it's the right approach. Madam Chair, thank you very much. I'm planning to support options 1, 2, and 3, staff recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, you all know that my heart bleeds in the support of and respect for our workers. That respect for workers is quantifiable when you grant them something measurable. And that something measurable is an increase in their pay. I'm not willing to, saw Sheriff Gilmore come in, to bring the sheriff's deputies to $60,000 mark, and most of our employees make underneath $50,000. We have employees who make in the 20s, and they work hard. They work and give all they have every day. We have been fortunate to do the 5% in the previous years because of dollars that Shonda's told us come down from, where those dollars come down from? Heaven? Somewhere. We had those monies that rained from heaven. Feed us till we want no more. But we're down to the last scraps. Now, we is talking about bonding $10 million for some pipes for sewer in the ground, which I support. But I'm willing to take the 1.3, I'm willing to make that 8.7 on option 4 and take $1.3 million for our employees' raises out of that. We don't need a $10 million match. Let's go with 8.7 million for that, because we're not going to leave our employees behind when we've got money on the table. In the years of which there is surplus, which we are in one of those good years, our staff gives us numbers that balance the budget that have already factored. We're not asking them to go back. They've already factored 5% into this current budget that we're looking at. I'm asking us to respect these workers. I'm asking us to not skew the come up, and I'm not hating on the sheriff. I'm supporting the sheriff. I support the firemen getting more money, but everybody else needs money, and they don't need it later. They don't need pie in the sky. They need some ham where they am right now. So I want some ham where I am. All these people want some ham where they am, and you all shouldn't go to pie in the sky waiting for them to die. They need some money right now. The bills come right now, and they're coming furious and fast. I offer a substitute motion for options 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 4 being a 5%, which is already budgeted for, and that we capture our respect, translate it, and convey it to our employees directly with a bottom line increase in their paychecks. I'm asking you all to support this, commissioners. This is an act of compassion. And if you got a problem with that, let's modify option 3 to go to 8.7 million and get a match for another 8.7. Tell them we couldn't come up with the whole thing, but we needed 1.3 to pay our workers a 5%. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's my motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Is there a second from any commissioner? Can I second it, Madam Chair? Okay, I will second Commissioner Proctor's motion. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you. Mr. Administrator,
They have some weed.
the budget contemplates an average of 3% increase, correct?
Madam Chair, Commissioner
Please.
Maddox, it does. And again, we'd recommend, consistent with previous years, if you did want to do the additional 1.3, that use of contingency is an appropriate use of contingency on a recurring basis, and we anticipate being able to deal with that next year in the budget process.
And as I hear it, Ms. Bradley, inflation that's maybe 4%,
3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, it's currently 3.5.
Last year was at 9.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago it was at 9. 7.7. I can get there with this. I just think we have to be very cautious about how we move forward with this. The past 3 years, we've gone 5%, it's 15% over a 3-year period. I don't think our employees are less, are worth less than that. I think they work very hard for us. As I remember back in 10, we were in our stages of a recession. We cut a whole bunch of positions. Well, we didn't cut them. We just didn't fill them. I don't even know how many, Mr. Administrator, how many of those positions have we brought back our workforce wise? Are we about the same as we were when we cut them?
We are about the same size as we were then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if during that time, we asked our employees to take on more responsibility, and we were cutting at the moment because of a recession. And they've done a very good job of that. So I don't mind getting where we're going here. But I do say that in years to come, as we continue to look at this thing, as our wages become, higher and higher, that we go back to that 0 to 5 merit base. Last question I have, Madam Chair, if you don't mind. Our lowest paid employees, I think we were trying to work them up to, it was 18, I believe it was, Mr. Administrator. I think not too long ago we made a motion to go ahead and do that completely. Yes, thank you.
Please.
It doesn't like my finger. Oh, there we go. Our lowest paid employee right now makes $15.45 an hour.
15. And legislatively, that's where we were supposed to get them to. I believe it was 15.
We were trying to get them to 15,
Okay.
consistent with what the state was trying to get to by 2026.
Understood. So we're already there. Good. So, Madam Chair, I'll support the substitute motion, but just ask that we have an abundance of caution moving forward as we continue to do this, that we can't keep going 5% every single year. 0 to 5 is a normal practice that we need to get back to. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. And let me just say this as well. We gave employees 5% last year. The inflation was high. This year, inflation 3.5 is still high. Based on the summary and the analysis that the county administrator and the staff has provided to us, and then looking at legislation that might possibly pass next year, including the impact we would have from a $25,000 homestead exemption, as well as state retirement, COLA. I don't think we would probably be in as good position next year to give raises to our employees as we are this year, which is one reason why I support the substitute motion. The other thing, and several other reasons, and I respect Commissioner Minor and his input about awarding employees that work hard. But I do know that in many instances, we have employees that work hard that are left out if it's if the raises are discretionary and if the raises are subjective. And let's just face it, we can't get around our own biases and our own, I guess, individuals that we favor in the workplace. I mean, we are human. So I think if we do across the board this year, with inflation where it is, looking at what the bleak outlook might be next year, if this legislation that we're anticipating is going to be brought up again and will probably pass, I think we are showing our employees their value, and we certainly value them. And I think in our overall budget, we are focusing on many areas of need in our community, but I don't want us to exclude our county employees. I believe our companion city has provided raises. We know the state provided raises for its employees, and we certainly want to keep good employees, Mr. County Administrator. We don't want them to leave the county and go to the state or to the city. So I just believe that this is the right time to do it, because next year, I might, if I'm here, I might not support it based on the impact, the negative impact that the county might have on legislation that's likely to pass. Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vince, can you clarify a couple questions for me? So the 1.3 million would come out of fund balance this year?
That's correct. That's
And
where
then-
we've funded it the last 2 years.
And then moving forward, it would just be a part of the budget?
Correct.
So, Madam Chair, to your point, regardless of what happens next year, this is a annual commitment that we're making. We're committing now to this amount of funding forever, in perpetuity. So if next year's bad, we've already committed to this funding in perpetuity. So that's where I'm getting at, where we already have a constitutional amendment that we acknowledge is likely to create a $350,000 a year hole in our budget. So we're in a posture right now where next year we're guaranteed virtually a $350,000 reduction. We've toyed with the idea of millage rate rollbacks, where in this document it tells us that a tenth of a point of millage rate reduction would be a $1.2 million hole in our budget. So we've gone from contemplating a millage rate reduction to now contemplating a $1.3 million perpetual annual increase to our salary, when we have a currently budgeted average 3% raise that is performance-based, merit-based. I am not going to be able to support this motion on the floor. I don't think it's fiscally responsible given all of the context of the situation that we are in. We've given 10% in raises, again, perpetual forever, over the last 2 years when inflation was admittedly high, 9.9%, 7.7%. Now we've seen a 50% reduction in inflation down to 3.5%, which I would suggest and is probably close to average or normal. And we have a 3% average raise contemplated in the budget. So you're only a 0.5 percentage off of inflation. Some people will get 5%. Some people will get 1%. Some people will get 2%. Some people will get 0%. That's just the way it is. And I can't support this as it is. I just don't think that's responsible given those contexts that I just described. I think that the staff's recommendation is options 1, 2, and 3. And I think, as we just mentioned, we have like an incredibly competent staff of budget builders here who do a really thoughtful, very considerate job of trying to put us in a posture to be successful in the future. And so that would be my, I would urge us to stick with the staff recommendations.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Welch. Briefly, but let me go to Commissioner O'Keefe. I haven't heard from him, and then I'll come back to you. But
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is It is hard for me to consider voting against more money for great staff. That is true. And I look at what we see in the across the street legislature and the challenging future outlook that we hear from our budget folks and our county administrator in a future where we're going to keep getting challenges for unfunded mandates, and at some point they may pass. And I think about this $1.3 million that represents 2%. So we're not talking about no raises. We're talking about an average of 3% and spending an extra $1.3 million out of fund balance for 5%. I would love to give that extra to our staff. If it were just up to me, and don't worry, I won't make this motion, I would prefer that we give that extra 2% to people who make the lowest, instead of spreading it to the roughly 20% of employees who are paid the $80,000 or more that they deserve. But if we're talking about taking care of people and inflation, I think that it would be great to give extra to folks who make the least, yet work as hard as anyone for us. That being said, I also think about this $1.3 million, that should we choose not to add it to the normal average 3% raises, it stays in the bank. And then next year, another $1.3 million goes into that bank because we have not had it recurring. And then the next year, that $1.3 million goes into the bank. And I think about in a future where revenues get cut significantly, or there's economic challenges, other governments may be faced cutting positions. And rough numbers from what the spreadsheet I got yesterday, sitting here, 1.3 million could fund maybe an average of 20 employees, positions that we keep every year when other governments who have not planned for that might be cutting positions, versus an extra 2% for everyone this year. And so those are just the things I consider for what is a hard vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Keefe. Commissioner Minor, briefly, then Commissioner Cabana, I haven't heard from you, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, our county employees are the best. I've said it on Facebook. You know, we work with them a lot in our district office. I know all of you do too. After the flooding, we had a Leon County Public Works crew go out to Sir Richard Road, and within hours had it restored for people to travel on that road. That doesn't happen by accident. Our people are incredibly hardworking. And so I think we all appreciate that. We all know exactly how incredibly awesome our county folks are. But as I said before, there's a storm coming. We think that it's going to be very difficult for us to find the ways to balance our budget next year if some of these legislative policies go through. And as Commissioner Welch said, you know, there was an argument made that if we can afford it now, let's do it because we can't afford it next year. I don't buy that argument, because this is a recurring permanent expense. We do it now, we're locking us in for doing it next year when we may not be able to afford it. I think that's a really important part. Let's say when this time next year, when we're sitting here on the dais, we have the legislative policies that have been adopted that session costing us around $23 million. We will be faced with some very tough decisions. What type of severe cuts are we going to have within our county government to make up that loss, that gap? Or what millage increase are we going to be forced to provide upon our customers, our constituents, because of what the legislative policies require us to do? When that day comes a year from now, constituents all throughout the county are going to be asking, well, what has the county done leading up to this point to make sure it was as fiscally responsible as it could be? Because before you increase my millage rate, I want to know what you've done up to this point. Before you cut severely county programs or capital projects that are in my neighborhood, what have you done up to this point to act responsibly? Our county employees are the best, and I see it every single day. Jody, my chief of staff, and I, we work with them a lot, and constantly they are making county government look great. But at the same time, we've got to balance that with what we all know is potential incredible, difficult budget year coming up with the legislative policies. And so I think we need to act now, knowing that we might have a tremendously difficult budget year next year, where we have to make some very serious choices. And I think that starts right now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Commissioner Caban?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank staff for preparing this budget. You guys are awesome. It was very easy to read. I appreciate the detail. I know, especially as we navigate, weird times with some policy that could affect us in our budget. Madam Chair, may I address the county administrator?
Yes, please.
Mr. Administrator, I have a few questions. This is just from your perspective. Is Leon County pay competitive with other counties?
Yes.
Do we have any trouble hiring whatsoever? Any issues with employee retention?
Yes.
No, we have issues hiring?
Yes.
Okay.
But we are very competitive, but we also, it's just a nationwide and a statewide trend. And it tends to be not across the board, but in specific positions. We have more trouble, again, which correspond to the various industry sectors and that sort of thing.
Do we think that increasing, what we're talking about right now is 2%, correct? So we have a 0 to 3%, 0 to 5% already merit-based with an average of 3 pay structure that we're proposing in this budget. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Do we think that if by adding 2%, it's going to help any whatsoever in our hiring ability?
I'm probably not from a hiring. Your question is hiring ability. No, I think our hiring ranges are right, and we're constantly evaluating those.
Okay. I think where I'm at right now, commissioners, is I think we need to be nimble as a commission. Last year, I supported a 5% increase. Prior to me being elected, I believe there was another 5% increase. So if I'm understanding correctly, we've awarded employees a 10% increase across the board. We don't know what's going to happen next year. We can sit here and speculate what's going to happen next year. As a business owner, I typically defer to my department heads and my department managers on what they want to see for their departments in regards to pay. In this particular instance, I think I'm going to defer to the county administrator in his recommendation and not support the additional 2% that we're discussing today. Not because I don't think employees deserve it. I think we have probably the best staff here at Leon County. But I also think there's too much unknown what's going to happen over the next 18 months. And I think we also have a commitment to taxpayers to keeping their base consistent. Next year, if that changes, I'm willing to have another conversation. Or if there is a different proposal brought to us by staff that shows where we're going to carve out $1.3 million from another department, then I'm willing to have a conversation. But where I'm at right now, I'm going to support options 1 through 3. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Proctor, let me ask the county administrator one question, and then I'll come to you real fast. I know we've got the proposal. I know that we all support increasing the entry-level pay for the sheriff deputies to $60,000. Do you know what percentage increase that is from where the entry-level sheriff's positions are now? What percentage increase is that?
They're at 50,000 minimum right now, Commissioner.
Okay, they're at 50,000?
Yeah, so they're moving the base to 60.
That's 20.
Okay, thank you. So we're 20% increase for the sheriff. And what's on the table is 5% for our county employees. Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you. Candace, how much will the state authorize county commissioners to have a raise next year? Has that money numbers come out?
Yes, please.
Those numbers don't come out until about August.
Is there any speculative idea?
No, it's been very random.
But over the last 1, 2, 3 years, county commissioners have received increases, have they not?
Yes, you have.
Okay. It's my anticipation, Madam Chair, that county commissioners are going to get it. Now, for those who would vote against our raises for our employees, how many county commissioners, Commissioner Mine, are following what you were saying? You're going to forego your raise. Raise your hand. Nick, that's your hand up? You know. Oh, I thought you volunteered to forego your raise. Who's going to forego their raise? Raise your hand. Let's be honest. Okay. Vince, are you going to forego a raise this year? There's no raise for your employees who are working hard. Each of these commissioners have said they're just the bestest in the whole wide world. But then we come down to you, and are you going to forego your raise? Or are you going to ride it out with your troops?
I
We're talking about money, yours.
I believe what's being proposed is a 0 to 5% pay increase in the preliminarily balanced budget.
I don't know what that means.
It's a-
0 to 5 is,
It's
what
a
does that
zero-
mean?
0 to 5, it means that there's an average of 3 contemplated. So again, the board wanted to see what the fiscal impact of 5 would be. So there's an average of 3 currently contemplated. So employees will, across the board, based on the option that's on, well, there's 2 options on the table, but based on 1 through 3 would receive an average of 3%.
Right.
But again, that would range based on performance.
That's totally incongruent with what we're doing for the sheriff. And I remember, Commissioner O'Keefe, your first coming on board, and one of the first things you talked about was the sizable chunk that the sheriff required, and that we should really peel through the layers and get down to the what made it so. Commissioners, I believe that we are hypocritical to forego approving a budget which is already contemplated that we can't afford, and to not carry the maximum, which 5% is not. I think I heard or saw our insurances are going up and increasing. All of these things. And it's just not fair when the county administrator, I would have, if I'd been the administrator, I would have recommended my employees get a 5% across the board. That's what I would do. And I would not balance this budget on the backs and off the backs of our employees. They give way too much for that. 9 hours to repair a road washed out, our employees did that. And all the other Herculean and miraculous things which occur, they do that. Consider who we are when we're not on this dais. I'm a piddly paid teacher at FAMU. You work for the school district. I don't know if you're piddly paid or not, but you would accept a raise if you got one this year. You get mad if you don't get one. I don't know what the rest of y'all do. But in my job, the real job, not the one that I get paid to come up here once a month and decide which options, which staff has thought through, which staff has recommended and done all the thinking, and all I got to do is say 1, 2, 3, or 4 and get this paycheck. But in your real jobs, where you really work, you think you deserve the need of raise hard as you work? But that's up to you. If you don't have a consciousness or empathy with respect to the people who are sacrificing. And $1.3 million if the state, I don't see the chart, but we're talking about $23 million. And if we're going to go down, this county is not going to sink over $1.3 million. That's not going to make the big difference. But I agree, every little bit helps. But that's not enough weight to make this county sink. It's not enough to move our A+ rating. It's small. So the buoyancy factor, our floatability, is not going to be impacted at all over $1.3 million. But what we convey as a morale booster, and the every little bit incrementally that helps our employees to sustain, to pay for children, to buy groceries, to meet food, that's groceries, ain't it? And to meet the myriad concerns that life entices as well as mandate that we pay. This 5% is a great endorsement of our employees and all that they face as human beings in the real world. And their work here is their real world. And I ask your consideration, commissioners, as mortals, not supernaturals, just mere mortals. Do you want yours? I do. They want theirs too.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. I think we've all had the opportunity to give our opinion on this. We spent enough time, I believe, on item 1, so I want to call it for a vote on the substitute motion. All those in favor of the substitute motion, which is options 1, 2, 3, and 4, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Those in opposition, let it be known by saying nay.
Nay.
Nays have it. The motion failed. Now we'll go to the substitute motion, which is options 1, 2, and 3. I'm sorry. The original motion is options 1, 2, and 3. Very briefly, Commissioner Manners.
Thank you. Just from my own understanding, you said in 22 inflation was, you said 9.1? It's on.
Sorry, yeah, in 22, inflation was about 9.1%.
What were 23?
I think 23 was down around 5,
And 24?
and currently we're at 3.5.
You said 9.3, 7.7, and 6.5.
Those were the property tax value increases.
So when we were looking at, Madam Chair, briefly, when we were looking at the 5% before, I was looking at that. I mean, I get the point that we want to make sure that we're taking into account the budget that we have, what we're looking at moving forward next year. But I also want to look at what my employees are have dealt with over the past 3 years. So over the past 3 years, we're looking at 9, 14, 17% increase in inflation, and we've given 15%. So we're still a little bit behind what inflation was, is what I take it as. That sound about right? So even if we went to 5% at the 15, we still weren't going to be completely caught up. And that was the point I was going to make prior to the vote, is just understanding, yeah, I understand we gotta be fiscally responsible moving forward, but we also have to look at what kind of morale we have here amongst our employees. And we want them to know that we value them. These are the folks that make us look good, to make sure that when we go up for re-election, that we have good things to say about the things that we're doing in the community. So given that, I understand that the board wasn't willing to entertain the 5% across the board. We have 3.5% that is the inflation this year. And right now we're at a 3% average in the budget. It's not, we can't say that they have to give them a certain amount, but in my mind, I'm thinking if we're averaging 3% and we want to look at maybe averaging 3.5%, I really do think, because it's a balancing point for me too, because I try to think about the budget in a way that's fiscally responsible,
Do
but
you
also
want to
again
do
try to
a
balance.
substitute?
No, I don't think I want to give a
You don't
substitute.
want to do that?
I just want the board to understand what we're doing here with just 3% and see if there's any consideration of looking at amending that to look like something different. If it's not, I'm okay with the 3%, but I want us to understand what we're doing here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Madam
Commissioner
Chair, I
Manners.
might on this motion say, can we, Madam Chair, look, when we come back in June or July, when the property appraisal numbers come back, and if there is windfall, because to go from 9 down to 6 is significant. But if we touch 7, that money that we're quibbling about and nervous over, I like to bring this conversation back if the property appraisals number hits 7.
Okay.
Is that fair enough, Commissioners? I mean, you guys.
Is it possible in the next budget workshop in June?
It's coming back.
Yeah.
We need an update on how much is that
We will know.
floating factor.
Mr. County Administrator.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. And the answer is yes, absolutely, Commissioner Proctor. Small changes in that valuation percentage increase result in big numbers. And again, because it's applied over a very broad base. I'm hearing, again, different budget and policy arguments being made among the commissions, but just from a purely fiscal standpoint, we could be in a position of realizing, $1 million, $1.3 million, $2 million when we come back to you in June. The numbers are going to change that much, and the board, like anything else, could have those discussions if you so chose again.
Please.
But I realize there's two different things. There are policy decisions being discussed, and there are budget decisions being discussed as well. But we could come back with the refined value information in June, and it could be such that we realize at least this much more money that's available. I'm not saying that we would, but you could.
Yeah, very, very good. Commissioners, that's what I'm asking. That first 1.3 mil above whatever's on the table right now, that we put our first right of refusal to our own employees. And I think that if we ponder these things, and we still have time to go before a final budget is reached, and that's what we're doing now, belt tightening and so forth. But if those numbers come back positive, I'm asking our board to reconsider where you're standing now, in that Vince, that you would keep option 4 not as a phantom option, but as a real life possibility. So I'm asking the maker of the motion if you would accept option 4 as a rider, meritorious of reconsideration if the appraisal hits 7% increase property value.
But, Mr. County Administrator, would we need to address that now? Is that something you would just, based on our sentiment, place on the agenda at our next budget meeting?
The board could simply, and it would be helpful, if the board would simply have a motion. It could be a separate motion from this. If you wish to consider that this issue to be brought back to you, this employee appraisal issue be brought back to you with the refined numbers, we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. So let's do this, Commissioner Proctor. Let's vote on the motion that's on the floor. Commissioner Caban, did you want to speak on that motion? On the options 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, Madam.
You want to speak on those, or you want to speak after we vote on that, on Commissioner Proctor's recommendation?
I'll wait until.
Okay, you'll wait. Thank you. So the motion on the floor is options 1, 2, and 3 for acceptance. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
You said option 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Option 4, 2.
No, 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. And we'll deal with 4 on a separate motion.
4, 2. So I
No.
just want to make sure.
Okay, all minds are clear. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? None. Now I'm going to ask Commissioner Proctor.
Madam Chair, I offer the motion that option 4 come back to us at our next meeting with the attendant factors, economic, based out of the property appraiser's office, or based out of any debt retirement consideration, or based on any revenue streams, which might lend itself to our consideration for $1.3 million to give the 5% raise to our employees across the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Is there a second for that to come back at our next budget meeting? Commissioner Caban, thank you. Commissioner Caban, did you want to speak on it?
Yes, Madam Chair. One thing I want to point out is that I would be willing to have this, when it comes back, Commissioner Proctor, to have this discussion in the June workshop. Also,
Right.
if we do want to have 5%, I'll stand firm on what I said earlier. If we can find $1.2 million in the budget from other categories, and we still keep that baseline, I would be open to having that conversation as well.
Thank you, and I think that's going to be part of the analysis that the county administrator will bring back to the board at our next budget meeting. Okay, briefly, Commissioner O'Keefe.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I want to offer another thought or another idea, and in thinking about this, we want to value our employees, and as I said, if we're using extra money, ideally, I'd like it to go to the employees who are in the lower range of our salary here. And part of the concern is adding a recurring cost. So I'm going to float this and just see the head nods or not on or offer a friendly motion that we ask staff to bring back the impact of giving every employee who makes less than $80,000 a $1,000 one-time bonus in addition to the normal policy. That's non-recurring. I believe it will come out, we'll let them do the analysis with a similar cost as proposed, going 3 to 2%. So the idea would be everyone still does the standard policy of average of 3, 0 to 5, but additionally, with this one-time dip into general fund, one-time $1,000 bonus for everyone under $80,000. Ask for the analysis of what that would cost at our next workshop.
Do you accept that friendly amendment to your motion as part of the county administrator's analysis, Commissioner Proctor?
No, he asked for a head nod.
No, okay. Would you accept that as a friendly
No, do you accept that as a
addition?
friendly amendment to your motion?
No.
And that'd be part of the analysis that the county administrator would bring back?
No, I see my family as one and one and the same, and not to create a morale differential among staffers that would be painful. And I don't want to stir and create bifurcations and a caste system among employees based upon how much you make.
Okay. I'll offer that as a substitute motion to add addition to the original motion.
Is there a second? Okay, it died for lack of second. Okay, so we have,
Madam Chair, on point.
yes, sir, please, Commissioner.
Candace, I have an organization that I lead myself, and as I remember, you can't specify a class of employee and give them a benefit that you're not giving the rest of the employees. Am I hearing that wrong? I don't think you can just give the raise to 80,000 and 80,000 below. I believe that you have to.
Yeah, let's ask the county attorney if she has an opinion about that. I don't know, it might be an equal protection issue or.
Actually, I'm not sure about that. I would have to research it. There could be concerns, particularly if there are employees who are within the same job classification who would be on different sides of that amount.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that
You can't.
that is the case. But for that reason, I'll be voting against the substitute motion.
Okay, so you have a comment? Yes. Very briefly.
Yeah, real quickly. Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Keefe, I totally feel where you're trying to go with that. I would tell you, though, as a school teacher, when we get a bonus, we kind of resent that, right? Because it's a one-time thing. It's like, okay, you helped me for this one time, but it doesn't contribute to my retirement, doesn't contribute to anything down the road. I get where you're trying to go with that, and maybe we can, instead of putting it onto Commissioner Proctor's motion, we can perhaps just ask, he didn't even want to do that, but perhaps, and I get these legal problems, right? But I get your sentiment, right? That inflation is hitting the people that make $15 an hour more than anybody else. Is there a way we can make those $15 an hour people make $18 an hour with the extra $1.3 million we're trying to find somewhere? That would have more of a real meaningful impact on improving the lives of our employees than an across-the-board 5% pay raise to people making over $80,000. That's the point you're trying to get at. Maybe there's a way we can figure that out. Maybe there's not, but you can let us know. But that's what my suggestion would be.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. We certainly have sentiment for our lowest employees, but I'm going to go on and call this substitute motion. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah. It's a substitute motion, Commissioner O'Keefe's motion. Okay. All those, let me ask for the vote again because I don't think she got to vote. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Keefe, Commissioner Minor. All those opposed, nay. Nay. So it failed. So we're back to Commissioner Proctor's motion for staff to bring back an agenda item at our next budget meeting. Our county administrator has it. He will bring it back. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. Mr. County Administrator, agenda item number 2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned earlier, we've got the appropriate staff sitting around the table here in case the board has any questions on that. But I just wanted to mention to you, Commissioners, again, these are issues that you asked to be brought back to you during this workshop. While they may not be the biggest ticket or most exciting items, Commissioners, they remind me of a quote that I've repeated several times over the years and during budget, that no one ever has a ribbon cutting for the proper maintenance of a road. And these items sort of fit into that category in that They may not be big ticket items, they may not get much attention, but it's certainly an indication of the level of detail that we place in them, certainly the level that the board engages in throughout the budget. Again, the issues that are presented fall into several categories. And again, just as sort of an introduction, we've got an item on leveraging resources with our partners so that they can provide healthcare services to people most in need and avoid the healthcare of last resort, which is always the most costly to them and certainly to the community. We've got a couple items here on employee benefits, and we'll hit these very quickly. We've got one on VFDs and improving fire readiness in the far reaches of the county, and a lot more. Commissioners, I'll start off with item 2, which is a budget discussion item, which considers increasing the CareNet provider reimbursement rate for dental and mental services provided by our healthcare providers to low-income residents. Commissioners, we're recommending doing this. We've fallen below the Medicaid rate in reimbursements over the last 2 legislative sessions. This would put us in line with that, and it does not have a fiscal impact. And with that, we're recommending options 1 and 2.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. I will entertain a motion to accept.
Move option
that.
1 and 2, Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Is there a second? Commissioner Minor, any discussion? And I appreciate this because I know last year we did increase the payments for primary care to our low-income individuals. So this deals specifically with dental and mental health. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? And Commissioner Caban out of chambers. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back at 11 o'clock. 5-minute recess, I'm sorry. Is that the proper word? Recess? Recess. We're going to call our workshop back to order. Mr. County Administrator,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
introduce agenda item number 3.
Yes, budget discussion item number 3 is on your green fleet conversion plan. Commissioners, as requested by the board, this discussion item provides an analysis of the county's goal to convert 30% of our light-duty fleet to fully electric by 2030, and whether there was a potential to further expand that. Again, all of that analysis is here, including the fact that we're on track to achieve the 30% by 2030. That would mean 34 vehicles going fully electric by that time. To date, 10 have been done. We have an additional 13 on order and 5 or 6 contemplated in the 25 budget. We provide, again, the analysis for you. Going beyond the target that we have now would require the county to replace vehicles that haven't reached their useful life or meet the eligibility requirements for replacement. With that, we're recommending option 1. Madam Chair, be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Commissioners, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept option 1, staff recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Commissioner Welch.
Just want to say thanks, Maggie and your staff, for being champions of green fleet conversion. I think we should all say that 5 times fast. Green fleet conversion, green fleet conversion. I think it's cool. Good job. Any idea when we're going to be able to have technology that allows us to green fleet convert our heavy duty equipment, like our big backhoes and dump trucks and stuff? Because that would be cool.
Good afternoon, everyone. So in the question of medium and heavy duty, this agenda item, as the Commissioner outlined, Administrator outlined, focuses on our light duty. We are constantly watching the markets, not only of light duty, but medium and heavy. They're just beginning to emerge. We want to be a leader, but we don't want to be on that bleeding edge. Something we have to consider with our fleet technicians and the staff behind this is also the ability to maintain and keep these on the road. So we're actively monitoring that, and I'll give one example. Even in light-duty fleet, the Chevy Bolt is a car that we've heavily invested in much of our EV. That is no longer going to be produced, so we changed our plan. Well, surprise, they're recalculating a plant, and in 2025 they expect it to be back. So we're in this evolution, and heavy and medium duty will certainly be introduced as we feel confident in those technologies.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all you do. I know this is a very dynamic environment, and I appreciate the fact that Leon County stays, if not on the bleeding edge, the cutting edge. We're very close and very forward-thinking in how we deal with this stuff. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Same thing. I want to thank Maggie for you and your team and everything that the county's doing to accelerate this. And when I had my briefing with the county administrator the other day, we talked about this item and how our county staff is constantly looking about ways we can accelerate it even further. Based on the changing market conditions, the availability of vehicle inventory and efficient, cost reductions, that type of thing, and all trying to make sure that we're pushing as fast as we can. And for anyone that might be watching these proceedings, just know that our staff are doing that. We all would like to move as fast as we can, as fast as reasonably we can, and so I believe our staff are doing that. So I just want to thank you for all of your efforts. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. Okay. And thank you to you and your staff, and I appreciate the fact that you all recognize expenditures that have already been made, and you're looking at the useful life of those vehicles, and they're being replaced through attrition. And I think that's remarkable that we are not just jumping right in. We are using what we've spent funds on, and then as time moves on, when they need replacement, we go into the EVs. So just thank you all so much.
Madam Chair,
All
can I
those
ask a
that,
question?
Commissioner Pop.
What is the average miles that we're getting off of our fleet? Is there an average percentage? And when do we consider an automobile obsolete? Does it vary with tractors, with trucks, and with cars?
Yes, happy to answer that. So as outlined in the Green Fleet policy, we have a replacement eligibility structure. Mileage is one of those factors, but it's not formulaic. So we also most primarily look at the repair costs when those have equated to 2/3 of the value of the vehicle. That's the most significant trigger. So we do have some vehicles that are 2005, 2006, older vehicles in our fleet, but we may be replacing a higher mileage vehicle that's a 2010 or 11 as well. So it's not a straightforward formula, but we take all of that in weight in addition to
When we
the
trade, do
mileage.
we trade them or do we just give them the goodwill or what? How do we dispose of a car?
Yes, our fleet, and I must say, I represent Office of Resource Stewardship, our sister department, Public Works, so I'm speaking on behalf of Fleet Management right now. We put all of that equipment, our heavy equipment, light duty, out to auction, and so that is done in a very public, transparent process. In addition to vehicles and equipment that are leased, then we have trade-in
Now,
process.
is there a pool that, I saw some information recently, I can't remember, but do we pool purchase, say like with the sheriff, the city, the school board, are we connected in any kind of bulk buying for vehicles that could save us some money?
We are, as with many of our services and items that we purchase in the county, we have term contracts either through the state, but we also, it's interesting you mentioned the sheriff, there's a statewide sheriff contract that many of our vehicles are purchased from.
Good, okay, very good. Well, we're trimming and we want to make sure that we're lean and mean, and we thank you very much.
Thank you. All those in favor, there's a motion on the floor to accept option 1, the status report. Let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you, Commissioners. Mr. County Administrator, if you'll introduce agenda item, budget discussion item number 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an item, Commissioners, that Nikki Payton has been anxiously awaiting very patiently. We appreciate her patience on this item. Unfortunately, hers has not been approved and won't be. No, this is an item that you asked for to come back and to be included today, Commissioners, at your January 23rd meeting. And you wished, you directed that we include a comparison of the county's policy to recent changes that have been made with the state and some other comparable governments. As I mentioned to commissioners in your briefings, we were kind of early adopters when we came out with our paternal leave policy in 2017. It applied to new parents, men, women, and parents who were adopting. And it was a graduated schedule where the first 2 weeks, weeks 1 and 2 were 100% paid for, 3 and 4 were 75, 5 and 6 were 50% of rate pay. Based on the current the analysis before you and the current best industry standards, Commissioners were recommending that we do provide our employees with 6 weeks full pay for paternity leave. There's adequate funding in the current personnel budgets to cover the cost associated with the increased benefits. With that, we're happy to answer any questions you have. We're recommending option 1.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Commissioner O'Keefe.
I move option 1.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Commissioner O'Keefe.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank, especially I want to thank the Council on Status of Women and Girls Commissioner Katie Britt Williams and Executive Director Stephanie Shoemate for bringing this to my attention. And this is great because parents will now receive their full salary, which is a big difference, especially for expecting parents, as opposed to a step down. And I just appreciate the county staff for working so quickly to get this in and into the budget. And I know that we always want to be a leader of the pack on this, and as the market and best practices change, I know now we'll stay on top of it, and especially folks looking to become parents or soon to become parents, they'll help us stay on top of it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Caban. O'Keefe, Commissioner Caban.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The county administrator and I had a conversation about this last fall, and I just wanted to say that very excited and very happy to have this in this budget workshop. Someone who has 4 sisters and two that are teachers. I think that this is awesome just to see come before us. I do want to just point something out, potential offer a slight change. In the state of Florida, it is illegal to remove a puppy or kitten from its mother before 8 weeks of age. So, though I think this is a big win, I would love this to go from 6 weeks to 8 weeks here in Leon County. I think it's something that's very doable. I think it's a small change, but goes a tremendous way, not only for women, but for fathers and mothers as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Caban.
Well, if
Is that for a friendly amendment?
Yeah, if you're looking for, I would offer a friendly amendment to change from 6 weeks to 8 weeks.
I'll take that.
Do you accept?
Yes.
Okay, and who's second?
Second, but I'd like to hear from the county administrator, please.
Can you address the impact?
I was just reading Commissioner Welch's mind. I was just going to offer that we wouldn't anticipate a budgetary impact with that motion. You would not? We would not.
Then I
Oh,
will,
you would not.
I will support that.
Any Commissioner Maddox?
I would like to speak as well.
I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, this is totally unrelated, but the level of advocacy at this table just took just went to another level. I don't think in my years of being I've ever heard us reference an animal.
A cat and a dog. Man, that's a great argument.
I was kind of jealous because I didn't think of it. That was pretty cool. I'll support the motion on the floor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to add, I'm disappointed that this lead staff wasn't Nikki on this item. But I can tell you that one of the most stressful times in my life was when my first child was born, and we did not know how we were going to manage that, from a work standpoint, because we didn't have nothing like this. And so I think to the county administrator's credit, we talked about earlier how we're trying to be on the cutting edge here. We're trying to do things to help recruit and retain our employees. Things like this is a big deal if you're potentially trying to have a child. And if I'm not mistaken, this applies to male and female employees. Mm-hmm. And there's 12 jurisdictions in the state that do this, right? 12 other counties, and only 3 of them do it like this, right? With the full 6 weeks.
We were seeing more of a trend toward going with the full 6 weeks in the
full
analysis.
pay instead of the
Yeah.
tiered pay, and then
Correct.
now we're going to 8 weeks. I would suggest we're now in the top. We would be the only one.
St. Petersburg has.
St. Petersburg, which is a city, and we're a county. There's a lot of cities. There's only so many counties. Yeah, I think, and I know Commissioner O'Keefe, this has been something that's near and dear to you, and I just want to commend staff for figuring out a way to make this work. This is a big deal, man. This is a big, big deal for real people. This really impacts your quality of life. To Commissioner Caban's, point, cats and dogs and moms and dads, we all bond and, real tight. And that first 6-8 weeks, we all know this. I mean, scientifically, those first month or two is extremely important in a child's development, that bonding with their parents. I mean, that can have a ripple effect of payoff in someone's life. That we're talking about, obviously, super early childhood education here. I can tell you my oldest child stayed home with my wife for 12 weeks with no pay, and it was very, very difficult. But man, when she was in kindergarten, she was reading 185 words a minute because she sat home for 12 weeks with my wife and I'm sorry, not 12 weeks. It was like 9 months. I'm sorry. What was I thinking? 12 weeks is what she was supposed to get. She stayed home 9 months with no pay. Very tough financially. But man, my oldest kid just got read to and read to and read to and read to, and it paid off. So glad to support the motion. Thank you for extending it to 8 weeks. I think that's extremely thoughtful. And this is the kind of stuff that separates our community and our county and our elected officials. Thank you.
Commissioner Proctor.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure. I honestly didn't pay a lot of thought to this particular matter. I think it has to do, Candace, with me being a member of the AARP. So, to my younger colleague here, he got all into the nitty-gritty of this. But I hope never to have for this to apply to me, Amen. But I support this motion, and to all that it might affect, congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very happy to support this policy. I mean, everything that Commissioner Welch said is resonated with me. I mean, it's so important. And as the father of two young girls, I mean, having that extra time to bond with them was really important. And I'm just saying, I think we should just call the question and vote on this now because, you know, Nikki's, I mean, we've got to work on this now and get this in so that she can benefit. So
No, don't call the question.
happy to support. I'm not going to call it this up.
I need to
But
comment.
I think we need to, let's move on. Let's vote this in and get this in so everybody can benefit. Thank you all, Madam Chair. I was happy to support the motion.
Does this take
Thank
effect
you.
immediately?
No,
It takes effect immediately, okay.
Upon ratification.
upon ratification. I said, don't call the motion because I don't want to be excluded as the only woman on the dais. You would never exclude me. But as a woman who is well past childbearing years, which I am, I am certainly elated by this particular budget item, Mr. County Administrator. And I'm excited for our younger mothers-to-be that work for the county. And I think it certainly demonstrate care and concern, health, safety, and welfare concern for our young mothers. And apparently, adopted parents as well. But most of all, and absolutely, mothers and fathers. But it puts us in a competitive mode as well because when I worked for the state, we didn't have this leave policy. You could take leave, but you'd use your annual leave, you know, or your sick leave, but not paid leave. So it makes us competitive, and I feel good about the fact that our employees for the county should feel that there is some care and concern about them. And we want to keep them. We don't want them to leave the county and go to the state of Florida, who has this policy and not the county. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. County Administrator, staff, commissioners, Commissioner O'Keefe, that weighed in on this. Having said that, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye. And I'll just say, I
It's
hope that
unanimous.
this puts no pressure on Commissioner Cabanner.
None whatsoever. Thank you, Commissioners. Mr. County Administrator, if you will introduce us to budget discussion item number 5.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I should note the county attorney on the previous item wanted it to apply to when your kids become teenagers too, and we couldn't allow that to happen. So the item number 5, Commissioners, is a budget discussion item, provides an update on the county's health insurance premiums and the budgetary impacts of changing our current formula. Based on the analysis and the significant impact of a 90-10 split, the item recommends that we maintain the current rate. Commissioners, the county's health care plan and contribution strategy was designed to be competitive with local, state, and national trends. It certainly is. The HR analysis conducted, and that's before you, provides that analysis of the county's current structure against plans from other local jurisdictions in the state. As presented in your agenda materials, the local government surveyed also share the cost of premiums with their employees based on a number of their number of participants. The analysis also found that the employee contribution levels at Leon County are not only competitive but remain low relative to other jurisdictions. The preliminary budget, Commissioners, contemplates maintaining the current contribution rates. Just maintaining the current contribution rates has a fiscal impact of $965,000 in this budget, just based on anticipated costs, increased costs of our health plan, which, by the way, we're good this year. And of course, moving to a 90-10 split would result in $1.7 million increase, which is $761,000 more than programmed in for the current budget. But again, Commissioners, based on the analysis, which confirms that we remain very competitive with our employee cost share for healthcare insurance and the impact, we recommend option 1. And this is an item that that Candace Wilson just dreams about in her sleep. So she's able to answer any of these questions. So happy to answer any questions you might have, Commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. County Administrator and staff for the analysis. Commissioners, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept
Madam
staff's
Chair,
recommendation.
I brought this item to our retreat, and I want to thank staff for reviewing it.
You want to make a motion? You want to?
Yeah, I move that we accept the staff's recommendation.
Okay, hold on. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Welch. Okay, Commissioner Fry.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, I recall when we went to this 13%, and that was painful that we did that. But the administrator has assured me and reassured me that this is a very competitive rate relative to other governments. So these things are contemplated. I want to thank Candace for these tables that help to bring, I won't say closure, but it settles my restlessness with respect to a desire to bring employee contributions down. And I imagine if we get a 8% nod from Mr. Akiani, then maybe we can pull this back up and do something about it if we get an 8% increase in property valuation. So those things being said, thank you very much,
Thank you,
Commissioners, for allowing
Commissioner
us to
Foster.
look at this.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the motion on the floor, which is option 1, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, adopted unanimous. Thank you, Mr. County Administrator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The final budget discussion item before you, Commissioners, seeks your approval to provide enhancements to improve VFD response readiness and fire service delivery, in addition to providing additional funding for apparatus maintenance. The item recommends allocating $150,000 in the FY25 budget to construct a ground-level water tank at the VFD station on Smith Creek Road. The distance from Smith Creek Road, and Commissioners, you may recall us evaluating this over the years in terms of the effectiveness of groundwater tanks and that sort of thing. In this particular case and in this analysis, we're recommending that we do this in this circumstance. The installation of the tank will provide water supply for large fire incidents and increase daily operational effectiveness by allowing the VFD to refill at the station. In addition, Commissioners, due to rising costs associated with engine and tank repair, this item also includes increased funding in the 25 budget to fully cover the cost of apparatus maintenance. There is adequate funding in the existing fire services budget to cover the cost. With that, we're recommending options 1 and 2, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator, for that analysis. Commissioner Caban, this is in your district, and I'll be glad to entertain a motion to accept staff recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will move to accept staff recommendation option 1 and 2.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What I'm passing out to you all now is a letter of support from the Lake Talcon Volunteer Fire and Rescue. Hopefully, I won't read it into the record, but I can submit one. Hopefully, we won't need it. But I will say that this is a need for our Fort Braden community and the Volunteer Fire Department. There is roughly a 10-mile gap between where this ground level water tank will go and the nearest fill station. So that means in an instance of a fire or an emergency along Smith Creek Road or anywhere south or southwest of this volunteer fire department, they have volunteer firefighters and firefighters and have to travel 10 miles to the nearest fill station and then back to where the fire is or the emergency. And so what this does, it cuts out roughly 20 minutes, if not more, of response time for our first responders. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to staff and the county administrator for identifying this need and acting on it. and bring it before us to vote on. I'm asking for everyone's support, and thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Caban, Commissioner Proctor.
Madam Attorney, question. With respect to our funding, our volunteer fire services, and the fact that we're endorsing this is expenditure of money, sort of makes it a misnomer, the word volunteer fire and rescue, because we do support input. What would the mechanics be if we were to bleed off part of the fire services fee that citizens in the incorporated area pay, and that we actually retained a percentage of that money that people are already paying $223 per household, per resident, and let's say we kept a percentage of that to undergird the volunteer fire services in the county. Is that possible? What are the mechanics to secure a bleed off of some of that money, and not all of it goes 100% to the city?
Madam Chair?
Please, yes.
So as mentioned at the last meeting, we have an interlocal agreement with the city, and this board has, based on the rate study conducted by the third party hired by the city and the county, developed those fees that are contractually obligated to be paid to the city, and that we adopted a resolution to impose on residents in the unincorporated area. So you would have to unwind your interlocal agreement and change your rates based on a new rate study, so you would hire a consultant to do that. I mean, and I would also defer to Vince to supplement that with anything he would like.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, if I might.
Please.
Just to add to what our county attorney said, and obviously Chastity's way up on this stuff, really understands it. I think she's right with respect to any large fundamental changes that you would do to change kind of what we're doing now. But just important to note that the existing fire services fee study that we have in place now does take into consideration our VFDs and does take into consideration what we fund them currently, and we do fund them out of the fire services fee currently. So we fund them about $500,000 a year currently out of the fire services fee, and that's contemplated in our study and in our budget process and all that.
That's what I was talking about in item 1. Didn't see it up there on the graph. Didn't see any movement of that money. And I guess we had a other category. Is that what this is coming out of, the other category?
This is coming out of our fire services fee revenues.
We need to capture that, and it needs to be presented to us.
Okay, I got you. No, the only thing I was going to say is that it is reflected in the budget detail, but you're right, we didn't go in that level of detail.
Okay. Yeah, it just feels a little strange that we would be leveraging $11 million and then coming back and robbing Peter to pay Paul for the volunteer when we're taking up money, but we're not keeping enough to do our thing with volunteer out in the county. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Are there any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of staff recommendation and the motion on the floor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, it passed unanimous. Thank you, commissioners. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On your behalf, I'll make the motion that we have an agenda item come back concerning the Housing Authority's $175,000 match. That'd be my motion.
Second.
And that was what you raised earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, absolutely. Okay. Is it any discussion? Commissioner O'Keefe.
Yes, I just haven't seen the letter. If staff could forward it to me. Other than that, it's fine. Thank you.
How soon will we have an answer on our support?
Does anyone?
I'm looking forward to come back in the next agenda meeting.
We'll do that.
Okay. Good.
City of Tallahassee will take it up tomorrow at their board meeting. Commissioner O'Keefe, just FYI, they sent an email out to all of us, and in emails attached a letter that was sent to us, as well as the city agenda item.
I got the letter.
And I'm ready to vote. I just wanted to have that for my record.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of an agenda item coming back on the request from Ms. Brenda Williams with the Housing Authority, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and it's unanimous. Thank you. Anything, Commissioner O'Keefe?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Madam Chair, I just want to thank staff for the hard work they put on this budget. I know each and every year, this is probably one of the biggest things we do as a local government. Ms. Bradley, this is your first budget to us. You did an amazing job. I can tell you the nerves were all over the place a little bit while you were speaking, but you did very well. And this is indicative of the budgets that we've seen in the past, which means your predecessor trained you well in getting ready for this. So, Madam Chair, thank you so much for leading us through the process. And I look forward to our next budget workshop in which I will consider that item number 4. And again, I just want us to remember, as we think about it, I understand we might be dipping into fund balance, but we would like to at least try to keep up with what inflation is. And there is no race that we have here to try to compete with other governments when it comes to what they're doing. We want to make sure that the morale is good amongst our own employees, and that we're rewarding them for the hard and good work that they do each and every day as Lane County employees. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Maddox. Commissioner O'Keefe?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor.
Just thanks, everyone, for your work. We appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Caban.
Nothing at this time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Staff, I want to ask, from my understanding from today, what we've just approved of is captured. It'll be packaged in the next iteration of the budget. And then we're going to hear from the constitutionals. They would have responded, and we will get what their numbers are looking like. Is that accurate for our next meeting?
Yeah.
So, okay. And then, not the next meeting, but, the next meeting, we're going to have at least a shadow of the 5%, its possibilities. And then we get the next meeting after that is a final. We will know finally what the deal is on that, okay? I want to give a shout out. It's very easy, Commissioner Maddox, to support your motion today for Brenda Williams, the phenomenality of the Tallahassee Housing Authority's total transformation of the property on Orange Avenue is astounding. Brenda has done a tremendous job. And one of the things about this piece of money, from my understanding, is that they seek to do a new master plan to look at doing the same thing to the Joe Louis housing projects over by Riley School. And if we've seen anything by this particular civic leader, and that is her ability to take meager and to multiply into much. That's a person who has the favor of God, raining on them, shining. And my hope is that with her master planning for the Joe Louis housing, and we're able to take and to bring that up to contemporary standards. If anybody can do it, Commissioner Maddox, I'm convinced that Brenda Williams can do it. So shouts out to her. Again, staff, thank you for all of what you do. Ken, you have bloodshot eyes, so I know you've been burning the midnight oil.
That's not what that's from.
Oh, that's not. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't wake it up. Okay, moving right along. But you guys have sat there, and year after year, this is actually my favorite time of year to look at what our decision-making will be. And it's really tasked around the rotation of these numbers. They have everything to do with our reach and our ability to improve our community. So thanks to all. You all have been wonderful. You've made my time this day wonderful, and I'm grateful to serve with a very good county commission. This commission, excuse me, Madam Chair, excuse me, but y'all not the prettiest county commission, but our chair lady is. She's, and me and her trying to lift us up in looks. But besides that part, y'all real good to work with. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Vice Chair Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to reiterate, thank you for building a very responsible and thoughtful budget. And then secondarily, to your first point about the storm, which I'm sure we'll all be hammering on, thanking everybody maybe in May, but unbelievable response, right? And I know Commissioner Caban's district took a hard hit, and I know we all got a ton of phone calls about flooding and just significantly difficult issues, and there were some long hours worked with Brent and the Public Works folks, who I would contend completely subjectively is the greatest Public Works department in the world, just super responsive, super capable, super awesome, and always makes us look good because they're out there on the road, standing next to dump trucks and doing hard work, and people see them and they reflect well upon us. And when we have these kinds of events, they really show up, which speaks to my point about those merit-based raises, right? Those folks are out all night, 24 hours on at a time out there, whatever they're doing, just to fix what they got to fix immediately without pause. And that is just so appreciated. So please, and I know that there's a lot more people involved in that down the line and across the departments. And certainly the county administrator keeping us in the loop, keeping us informed, making phone calls, going, hey, this is the status of this and that, and this individual house, this is the status of this individual puddle of water. It's very, very micro handled, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Welch. And thank all the commissioners for your participation. I'd like to request, as you all know, we lost our 38th Governor Bob Graham, and I'd like to entertain a motion or request a resolution from the commission in reference to Governor Graham.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. 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 No opposition.
Please note in our resolution, if the commission would tolerate, that I am a former Graham staffer. And I want to note in there that probably but for his office, I probably wouldn't be here. So on behalf of our county, one of our county commissioners, he's my former boss. And I would like that exception.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. And I also worked for the state of Florida during his latter part of his tenure. So I think many of us have, fond memories and connections with Governor Graham. So thank you guys for that. And just want to reiterate, Mr. County Administrator and your remarkable staff, the sentiments of all the commissioners on the hard work that you guys do for the presentation today, both verbally and your written analysis, and the roadmap to all of us that we are on top of our budget, present and future. We look forward to our next budget meeting in June, but just thank you all so much. And I hope that what we do here on the dais does not deflate our employees. We're going to be looking at our next budget meeting, looking at addressing the raise. And so just know that we value all of you all, the executives, administrators, those that are in the trenches that we certainly witnessed during the flooding the last couple of days. And so we appreciate all the hard work. And of course, we get accolades all the time from common citizens who recognized the fast response that the county makes in all types of situations, but especially during that flooding a couple of days ago. So thank you all for all that you do. Ms., and I apologize, Madam County Attorney, do you have any comments?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Well, nothing further than Mr. County Administrator.
Just, Madam Chair, thank you. Just wanted to, again, just a sincere thanks to the board for all your continued guidance in this process. Also wanted to give Rashonda a shout out here for leading us through this process this year. Commissioner Maddox, she told me that we only lost 70 years, that's all, that walked out the door. And so, but she has stepped up. Truth be told, she's been doing the budget for about a decade anyway, right? It's just, but anyway, we really appreciate her. And Commissioner Welch, I'm told Matt Cavell, always the brander, the master brander, has told me that we can refer to the April 11th storm now as the bicentennial storm because it happened, obviously, in 2024, and the National Weather Service tells us was a once in a 200-year event. So it's now, henceforth, the bicentennial storm. So you'll hear that again. Just again, thank you to the board for all your good guidance.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Meeting, Commissioner O'Keefe, you had.
I just wanted to say thank you to Rashonda and for your first being fully in charge of it, and I have already forgotten the persons before you.
Shout outs to all of you, Rashonda. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.